going to kick it off with a quick question, and then we'll kick it off to the audience to ask more. So my question for you guys is, it was really awesome to see all the metrics and the data that you guys are starting to gather and how you're helping the teams improve. I'm curious on, is there any impact to the performance measurement in your organizations that you're able to make? Or if not, is there anything that you would recommend?
Performance measurement, you mean?
Individual performance, so
Got
HR.
it. Well, I can tell you engagement with HR, I told you in my talk that business agility has become a massive focus. Everything's being reconsidered. There's raging debate over whether we want a meritocracy, quite honestly, where individual performers are paid well, or whether we want to incent teams to act as teams. And I think we're leaning towards the latter. So the metrics on teams will bear out which teams are doing well and which are not doing as well. Yeah.
I'd say from our perspective, we're still on the fence. Again, it's a lot of debate, and it's like 50-50 in our org right now on which way we go.
As a consultant, I would say I have opinions about it, but honestly, at this point, I think it's exactly where you guys were talking about. There's a lot of discussion about it.
Yeah.
Super healthy.
Yeah.
Engaging the HR teams in that discussion is going to be really important. But I think most organizations aren't quite there yet.
All right, we'll take some questions. I like throwing that thing.
I got it. Have you done any measurements on employee morale or retention as a result of the transformations and the work you're going through? Have you seen any improvements in that?
We have. So employee morale is up by pretty much every measure. Retention, I would say, I'm on gag order, by the way, from Fannie Mae Corporate. But I would say retention's roughly steady. It's a hot competitive market, so retention isn't just about employee morale, although that's a big part of it. There's a lot of competition in the DC area, and so I think we see our share of attrition.
Yeah, and we definitely have a pretty strong focus on employee morale with Waggle and all the other different stuff that we do at Paychex that we are looking to correlate to some of the team health dashboard metrics and the standards. I think we're doing our latest round of surveys right now as we speak, actually. So when we get that, that'll probably be something that we tie back pretty strongly. Since we've just rolled out our team health dashboard this year, and our strongest measurement for employee morale is annual, we'll probably start to tie those together and see what we find.
Let me add to that. I'll speak to this in the last couple of organizations that I've been a part of. I think the really important message here is that this is really sensitive to the way you approach your transformation. Right, so a couple of organizations, I know I worked at IHG, Russ, his teams are super motivated, super engaged, really direct kind of line of sight into the impact that they're having, and great leadership in that space. Another organization that I worked at that kicked off an agile transformation, had a lot of senior leadership turnover halfway through, and has kind of pulled back from it, has seen a ton of retention issues, a question of not only is there change fatigue, but gosh, we only got halfway through this and now we're changing course again, right? So as you think about how you structure your transformation, how you're selling it, how you're engaging people, know that has a huge impact on your teams. You guys agree? You seen that? Yeah.
Morning. Maybe metrics is such an interesting topic. We can have a summit on metric. But all of you touched directly or indirectly about taking existing metrics and then tying it to the transformation metrics or agility metrics. And any organization that we go to has tons of vanity metrics, et cetera. What has been your experience in kind of untangling that mess and settling down on the few that really matter, and even having a notion of what is an outcome or activity or an output metric versus leading and lagging What has been your experience in untangling and having people give up the vanity metrics that they all have near and dear to the heart because they've been looking at that for years together?
Well, I think the biggest thing for us and having rolled out the team health dashboard was it was a chance for us to tell the teams what to focus on. So when we said, okay, we've got commit to complete on there, we've got escape defects to get to the release train, that saying, okay, these are the 2 or 3 metrics that we're really going to highlight coming out of you as something that we want to look at, that tells them, that messages to them, what do we want you to focus on? And when you add in, the red, yellow, green that everybody kind of was like, oh, geez, it kind of says, well, here's the bar where we want it to be. So as long as you're able to roll it out delicately and with the whys and the town halls and discussions around it, it's a very effective way to kind of pick which metrics do you want to go after and which metrics do you want the teams to really be introspective about and talk about, well, how do we improve? How do we improve our commit to complete? How do we improve preventing escape defects and stuff like that? So.
Yeah, I'll say for us, I had zero luck untangling all the metrics that every organization had. Maybe don't take my approach, but I just went straight to the top, to the board and the executive level, created a new dashboard that they could look at that was closer to outcome based. And it does look like, though I'm not well liked, I think, in my organization anymore, the lower level delivery metrics begin to fall in line with that.
Team, I think this will be the last question that we take, and then we know we're running a little behind, but this is a fantastic topic. So we are going to, after this question is answered, encourage you to take a break and continue the conversation if our speakers will hang around so that we can continue to ask them. Thank you.
The team health metrics that you had for the product owner in your backlog, who evaluated that? How was that evaluated?
So, are you like the backlog readiness metric?
Yeah.
So what we did is, it started, and it was coming in mostly through Agility Health Radars, just sort of the anecdotal, like qualitative feedback, I guess we would say. So we knew there was something there in terms of, teams didn't have their stories ready and stuff like that. So we have in Jira, we have always had, there's a tab where there's definition of ready. And we have our enterprise definition of ready that we had published, which is, intentionally generic because it can apply to a bunch of different teams, but it's really meant to let the teams figure out what they need before they commit to a story as part of a sprint. So there's actually checkboxes in Jira, and so what we did was, number one, we reevaluated the definition of ready with our coaching COP to make sure it was kind of discussion-driven and conversational and rock solid. And then what we also were able to put in a trigger in place in Jira so that if they checked all the 6 boxes that aligned with, do you know what your dependencies are? Do you know what your non-functional functional requirements are? A lot of that fun stuff. It'll add a label that says ready to the story. Which gives the team 2 options. So they can either manually add the label if they've got a bunch of custom things for their definition already, or they check all the boxes, labels automatically applied. And then what we do is we say, okay, we want you to have about a sprint's worth of stories ready to go, so that on sprint planning day you can swap in a story if this one's not ready or something like that. And basically we calculate that against what their past 7 sprints velocity average was. So if you're usually a 35-point sprint team, we want you to have about 35 points worth of backlog ready to go.
I'll just jump in on that too. The genesis of it was we were getting a lot of anecdotal feedback that teams didn't have enough to work on. And so we just wanted to prove out, okay, is that true or not? And that was the genesis of the metric. And then the other thing that was helpful was the VP of product wanted to know. So when I had the dialogue with him, like, hey, do you want to bring this forward, put it on the dashboard? He's like, absolutely. I need to hold my people accountable as you're doing with your teams.
I've got nothing.
Awesome. Well, our awesome speakers are going to stay around and be around for lunch, hopefully, to take some questions. We'll see you all back at 10:35. Thanks, everybody.